Get ready, Friar Faithful. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Cincinnati Reds in the first game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today, right-hander Nick Martinez on the mound for Cincinnati, and for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 4:10 p.m. at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We also hear from today's starting pitcher Dylan Cease. We hear from shortstop Xander Bogaerts, and in just a little bit, we go to Cincinnati and check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971, with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres entered today 44-36. They enter 6 games out of first place in the National League West, but sitting in the NL's final wild card spot. Padres just wrapped up a stretch of 26 games in 27 days. They went an even 13-13 in that span. Meanwhile, the Reds come in 42-39. They entered today 2.5 games behind the Padres in that wild card race. So this is a big series for Cincinnati. It's a very crowded race in the National League. 7 teams are within 5.5 games of one another for the 3 wild card spots. Reds just won 2 of 3 from the Yankees this week. They're 12-6 in their last 18 games. Well, the Padres wrapped up a series against the Nationals earlier this week at Petco Park. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Our starting pitching matchup on Wednesday, left-hander Mackenzie Gore on the mound for the Nationals, right-hander Nick Pivetta for the Padres. Both guys threw a scoreless first inning. Pivetta threw a scoreless top of the second. In the bottom half, Gore struck out the first 2 batters, but then issued a walk to Tyler Wade. Elias Diaz singled. They moved up to second and third on a wild pitch. Luis Arraez at the plate.
1-1. And Arraez hits it on the ground the other way into left field and a base hit. Wade comes in to score. Diaz is going to try. Young's throw to the plate, and he is meat. Not particularly close, as Diaz just slid in feet first to Adams' tag. RBI single Luis Arraez, though, will give the Padres a 1-0 lead.
From that point on, the story was Nick Pivetta. He works around a leadoff single in the third, a 1-2-3 fourth inning, a scoreless fifth inning. Gore was doing the same. He kept it a 1-0 game through 5. In the top of the 6th, Pivetta allowed a 1-out bunt single to the number 9 batter, Jacob Young, but he bounced back to strike out C.J. Abrams for out number 2. The inning was left up to James Wood.
2-2, and Wood swings and misses. Strike 3, got him to chase 95 up. And James Wood strikes out for the 3rd time today. 9 strikeouts in 6 shutout innings for Nick Pivetta.
Pivetta went back out for the 7th inning, tossed a 1-2-3 frame. He was spectacular. 7 scoreless innings, 10 strikeouts, 3 hits, no walks. The Padres had to protect a 1-0 lead without Robert. Was beginning his 2-game suspension on Wednesday. Jeremiah Estrada tossed the scoreless 8th inning. It was Adrian Morejon in the 9th.
0-1, the pitch. Wood swings, pops it up, shallow left center field. Jackson Merrill into the gap, coming in. He's there to make the catch. And the Padres win this series from the Nationals and finish this homestand 4-2.
A really, really nice series win for the Padres. 2 series wins on the homestand against the Royals and the Nationals. And the Padres come away with a 1-run win on Wednesday after a 1-run win on Tuesday night. Again, the final score on Wednesday, Padres 1 and the Nationals nothing. And Robert Suarez will serve game 2 of that suspension here today in Cincinnati. So the Padres will be a little bit short in the bullpen. In fact, they'll have once again a 25-man active roster for this series opener against the Reds. Let's go out to Cincy.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
All right, Tony, let's start with not our favorite topic. What can you tell us about the weather situation right now in Cincinnati?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much typical Cincinnati. It's raining right now, and it's probably going to clear up right before game time. Tarp's on. The rain was it was torrential downpour here 2 seconds ago. Now it's like barely raining, and kind of how it goes here in Cincinnati.
Hopefully the rain stays away. We have first pitch on time today. We'll keep everybody posted about that. Let's talk a little bit about the Cincinnati Reds. Talented team. They've got a new manager this season in Terry Francona, who's going to the Hall of Fame one day. Your thoughts on what the Reds have done as of late and where they are right now, because this is a big series for them, just 2.5 games behind the Padres for the National League's final wildcard spot.
Yeah, and only 6 games out of the division.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought halfway or just a game beyond the halfway point for them that they would be 6 out of the division and playing, above 500 baseball. I think they would have taken that in a heartbeat. And so in terms of what they've done, I just think this is a team that has always been talented. I think we've seen that over the last couple of years. But now they have a manager in Terry Francona that I think knows how to steer these young men in the right direction. And I think a combination of that, the young guys getting more experience under their belt, has turned them into a little bit of a better team. Remember last year, too, they were missing some guys. There were some guys hurt. McLean missed most of the year last year. And so, a guy like Benson has stepped up a little bit. They acquired Gavin Lux from the Dodgers. So they got a good mix of young guys. And now I think Terry's kind of, moving them in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. And he's a really good manager. And it's going to be interesting to see how the second half goes for Cincinnati. Let's talk about our pitching matchup today. Old friend Nick Martinez on the mound for the Reds, Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. Let's begin with Cease. It's been up and down for him the last 3 starts. 2 of them have been really, really good. The one in LA, not so good. Your thoughts on what Dylan Cease continues to do as we get to the midway point of this season?
I still think he's still finding that good groove that he's looking for, if you will. I mean, he had a streak there of 4 consecutive starts where he gave up at least 3 runs. Padres were probably 500 in those games. And so I just think for Dylan, it's really about finding that rhythm. And we've seen him get better in the last start against the Royals. Wasn't perfect, but he was able to kind of figure some things out. He obviously had the rough one against the Dodgers, but he also had a really good one against the Dodgers to start before.
Yeah.
So, and that just kind of speaks to the kind of inconsistency he's had. But the one thing about Dylan is he's going to give you innings. And generally speaking, you're going to be in the ball game regardless of whether he's at his best or, kind of been inconsistent as we've seen. He's going to give you a chance to win.
Finally, on Nick Martinez, he's had a really interesting month of June. Not a great month of June. We'll get into that a little bit later. But generally, against the guy in Martinez, what are the keys for the Padres lineup here today?
Get ahead of him because, the more he can use that changeup, the more comfortable he is. A lot of it's dictated by his command. When he is commanding the baseball, Nick is a tough guy to deal with because of that changeup. But some of the times when he gets into trouble, it's because he's falling behind. And, if you can get that changeup up, it's good hitting. It's a power changeup. It's not your typical changeup that is a little bit softer floating away. It's more of a power changeup. So that's most effective when it's down. And when it's up, it's kind of good hitting. So Padres will kind of have to see where he's at and then kind of approach it from there.
All right, Tony, hopefully the rain stays away. Tarp comes off here shortly, and we're talking to you and Jesse Agler at the very top of the hour. Thanks so much.
Take care, Sam.
All right, Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. Padres beginning a 6-game road trip here today, 3 games in Cincinnati, 3 games in Philadelphia next week, and then the Padres have an off day on Thursday, next Thursday. Then they begin a 10-game homestand against the Texas Rangers on Friday. That's July 4th, and a 10-game homestand that takes us all the way to the All-Star break. So we are truly in the final stretch of the first half of the season. Padres will play game number 81 of their season here today. So after today, officially the first half of the season will be over, but we keep on going for a little while until we get to the All-Star break, and that will end the quote-unquote ceremonial first half of the season. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Plus, a little bit later, I go one-on-one with today's starting pitcher, Dylan Cease. We also give you the latest on Xander Bogaerts, who missed Wednesday's game, dealing with that left shoulder soreness. So we'll update you on all of that. We also have our keys to the game and much, much more to do. First pitch coming up at 4:10 in Cincinnati, right here on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get you ready for this series and road trip opener, game 1 of a 3-game set coming up in just a little bit against the Cincinnati Reds. We do have an update for you. You heard us ask Tony Gwynn Jr. about the weather, the tarp on the field. Well, I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the delay we're going to have here today, yes, we're going to have a delay. It's not going to be very long. The bad news is we will not start at 4:10. We will start at 4:20 p.m. Pacific time in Cincinnati. So what does that mean? Well, it means we're just going to push everything back 10 minutes. I'll be with you until just about 4:10, and then we'll go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in Cincinnati at 4:10 p.m., first pitch at 4:20. So the good news, there is weather in the area in Cincinnati, but we're not going to have a very long delay at all. 10 minutes, we can deal with 10 minutes. And hey, if you're a fan of mine, then hey, you might say, hey, you know what, an extra 10 minutes on a Friday with Sam, I can deal with that. I can vibe with that. And if you don't like me, well, too bad. You got me for 10 more minutes on this Friday, a beautiful Friday here in San Diego. Hope you're having a great start to your summer weekend. Padres beginning this 6-game road trip to Cincinnati and Philadelphia. As we get ready for this one, let's hear from the Padres skipper.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Before we hear from Mike, let's give you the lineup today for the Padres. Continues to be a new look lineup for the Padres. Luis Arraez at first base leading off. Manny Machado at second base batting third. Jackson Merrill in center. Manny Machado at third base batting second. Jackson Merrill in center batting third. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field cleaning up. Gavin Sheets in left field batting fifth. Xander Bogaerts at shortstop batting sixth. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting seventh. Trenton Brooks, the DH, batting eighth. And Martin Maldonado doing the catching today and batting ninth with right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound. We'll give you the Reds lineup in just a moment as well. But Wednesday's game against the Nationals, that was the first time we saw this new look top of the order with Manny moving up to the 2 spot, Luis Arraez being in the leadoff spot, Fernando Tatis Jr. dropped down to the cleanup spot, and wouldn't you know it, Luis Arraez had a 3-hit game on Wednesday. So one day in the leadoff spot for Luis, and it went very, very well. Here was Mike Shildt earlier today on if there is a timetable to see good results from this new look top of the lineup.
I think it's all fluid. We don't do the moves lightly. You look at it, you live with it, feel good about it, then you evaluate it as the season goes, and we've done that. So as far as the timetable of it or the length, again, the game and the guys will let us know.
That was Mike Shildt talking about that new look top of the lineup, and we'll see how long it stays that way for the Padres. I would assume if the Padres have offensive success with this new look top 4, then it will probably stay that way. As we know, Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, one of the more hitter-friendly parks we have in our game today. Here was Mike Shildt on if hitters have to have any different kind of approach, maybe kind of stay within themselves in such a hitter-friendly park.
Like any place we go, I think it's important, big park, hitters park, just making sure we just stay with our approaches. You have the right approach, the ball is going to do what it'll do.
So that was Mike Shildt talking about the ballpark in Cincinnati. As far as the conditions today in Cincinnati, it's not terribly hot right now, according to the weather report I'm looking at. 80 degrees in Cincinnati, although humidity is up to 72%, so it's a little bit sticky today in Cincinnati. Here was Mike Shildt on if he has to keep an eye on starting pitcher Dylan Cease, his workload today, giving those warm, sticky conditions on a night like this in Cincy.
I think it's a factor. It's warm. I don't think it's like people are passing out right now, but we'll pay attention to it. We'll look at it and see how hard he's working and make the decision from there.
So that was Mike Shildt talking about the conditions in Cincinnati. And hey, I think if I were a starting pitcher, I would rather hot, sticky conditions than necessarily cold conditions. So I guess that's good news. You'd rather have warm than cold. Maybe not everybody would agree with that. As far as Yu Darvish and Michael King, the latest on Yu Darvish, he threw a simulated game in Lake Elsinore on Wednesday, went 3 innings, allowed 3 hits, no runs given up. He walked 1, 6 strikeouts, the most significant number out of all those, 51 pitches for Yu Darvish in that sim game at Lake Elsinore on Wednesday. We know Michael King has been playing catch. We saw some good video of him during the course of the week playing catch. Here was Mike Shildt earlier today, the latest on both Yu Darvish and Michael King.
Darvish, 51 pitches, 3 innings. Sounds like he came out of it pretty well. We'll get a side here over the weekend and then evaluate it. Michael King had a good day of catch, had a full off day yesterday, and we'll see what it looks like today.
How is Xander right now? Obviously, it's in the lineup for tonight. How did he come through his shoulder?
He aggravated it. The 2 days have done him really good. He's feeling very optimistic. He's going to be able to go today, and we'll evaluate it. But he feels like he's in a good spot.
You mentioned to us that maybe he has to reconsider head first slide, especially in the home plate. Have you talked to him about that?
I think we've talked to him about it. He's aware of it. He's a 12-year pro, so he knows what he's doing. It's an instinct for him to slide head first. Making an adjustment because of the shoulder is something that's on the table, and I think he's aware of.
That was Mike Shildt earlier today, giving the update on Xander Bogaerts, who missed Wednesday's game, was a late scratch out of the lineup. And the good news, Xander, like we said, is back in the lineup here today. We'll hear from Xander Bogaerts a little bit later on our pregame coverage. Taking a look at the Cincinnati Reds lineup today, TJ Friedel in center field leading off, Matt McLean at second base batting second, Ellie De La Cruz at shortstop batting third, Austin Hayes, the DH, batting cleanup, Gavin Lux in left field batting fifth, Tyler Stevenson, the catcher, batting sixth, Spencer Steer at first base batting seventh, Will Benson in right field batting eighth, and Christian Encarnacion Strand at third base and batting ninth, with our old friend Nick Martinez on the mound today for the Cincinnati Reds in game one of this 3-game series. As we get ready for first pitch now coming up at 4:20 here in San Diego, let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's begin with a look at the hot category. Luis Arraez in the midst of a 12-game hitting streak. He's batting .358 in that span. Luis is really swinging the bat well as of late. His batting average for the year is now up to .288 as he continues that climb towards 300. Would anybody be surprised if when we look at the end of the year or even in a month, if Luis's batting average is all of a sudden back over 300 where you would expect it would be this time of year? As far as the not category, I'm going to put Fernando Tatis Jr. in there. Fernando 0 for 3 on Wednesday, 0 for 4 on Tuesday. He only has 3 hits in his last 31 at-bats, a span of 9 games, although 2 of those 3 hits have been 3-run home runs. So bit of a mixed bag results for Fernando. He's not collecting a lot of hits, but 2 of them as of late have been 3-run home runs, and certainly you'll take a 3-run home run from Fernando Tatis Jr. That's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for this series opener in Cincinnati. We'll step aside. When we come back, we take a look at some headlines from around the major leagues. A little bit later, I go one-on-one with today's starting pitcher, Dylan Cease. We tell you about one player the Reds activated from the IL earlier today. We take a deeper dive into the electric Ellie De La Cruz, what he continues to do. Certainly somebody to watch in this series in Cincinnati, and a full breakdown of our pitching matchup between Cease and Nick Martinez. Much more to do on our pregame coverage. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game, this series opener between the Padres and the Cincinnati Reds. First pitch coming up at 4:20 in Cincinnati. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. at Great American Ballpark at 4:10. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can find me on X at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. Instagram DMs open as well. Sammy Lev there too. You can also chime in on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from. May just give you a shout out here on the air. And you can also give me one of your keys to the game and may just read your key to the game live here on the air. By the way, while we have a little extra time on our pregame coverage today, I will mention that if you do go to my Instagram at Sammy Lev, Instagram, Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV, you will see on my Instagram story, I've introduced the world to my children. Yes, I know, surprise to me as well. My children, of course, I mean my plant children, acquired a brand new plant today. Biggest plant I've ever had. It's, I don't know, about 50-something inches, maybe. Well, that might be a little high, but it's up there. It's a good sized plant. Anyway, you can go on my Instagram story. Let me know what you think of my my plant children. First 3 plants I've ever owned in my entire life. So what's going on with me this summer? Baseball, broadcasting, and apparently buying plants. All right, back to the baseball. Let's take you around the horn, give you some headlines from around the major leagues.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Some headlines from around the major leagues. An unfortunate update from the Angels. Manager Ron Washington, who's been around the game for a long time, one of the real good guys in the game, so highly regarded. He'll remain on medical leave the rest of the season. The Angels announced earlier today Ray Montgomery will manage the team for what remains of 2024, and Ryan Goins will serve as his bench coach. Washington is 73 years old. He was placed on leave last Friday because of an undisclosed medical issue. So certainly we send our best to Ron Washington, but he will remain on medical leave throughout the rest of the season, the Angels announcing earlier today. The Mets lost pitcher Griffin Canning to a ruptured left Achilles. He suffered it yesterday during his start against the Atlanta Braves. He'll miss the remainder of the season and possibly part of 2026 as well. Really unfortunate injury for Griffin Canning. He was just sort of running off the mound, not doing anything too crazy, and you could see on the TV it sort of looked like that classic ruptured Achilles with the vibration of the calf, and you kind of knew what it was when you saw it, and indeed it was a ruptured left Achilles, so he's out for the rest of the season. Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh, who leads the majors in home runs with 32, said earlier today that he will participate in next month's home run derby in Atlanta. That'll be July 14th, the night before the All-Star game. And a note on what's been an interesting first half of the baseball season so far. Entering today, Major League Baseball played 1,213 of a scheduled 2,430 games this season. Right now, there are 18 teams at 500 or better entering the day. That is tied for the most ever through the halfway point of a season. So if it feels like you're looking at the wild card standings and you're saying, man, a lot of teams in the mix right now, a lot of teams above 500, well, you're not crazy. Yeah, it's a unique year where there are a lot of teams that are playing well so far in the first half of the season. Padres playing game number 81 here today in Cincinnati, and that's a look at some quick headlines from around the major leagues. Let's give you the latest on Xander Bogaerts and also tell you about a player the Reds activated earlier today.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, we told you this earlier. Xander Bogaerts was scratched from the lineup on Wednesday after aggravating a left shoulder issue on a headfirst slide into home on Tuesday. Bogaerts dealt with similar soreness earlier this month. It kept him out of a game against the Giants earlier this month. It's also the same shoulder that he fractured in June of last year. He missed 2 months of the season because of that shoulder fracture. The good news is that Xander is back in the lineup here today, batting fifth and playing shortstop for the Padres. Batting sixth and playing shortstop for the Padres. We'll hear from Xander in just a moment about that shoulder and about him considering not diving headfirst into home plate anymore. Reds activated outfielder Austin Hayes earlier today. He had been dealing with a left foot contusion. They placed outfielder Jake Fraley on the 10-day IL with a right shoulder sprain, and Hayes is a significant hitter for this Reds lineup, DHing and batting cleanup today. He's batting .303 on the year with 6 home runs and 25 RBIs. So that's a look at the latest on Xander Bogaerts, the latest on Austin Hayes. Hayes and Bogaerts back in the lineup today for their respective teams. Xander Bogaerts spoke inside the Padres clubhouse earlier today. Hey, Xander, how you feeling?
Yeah, doing good, hopefully starting to slide feet first a little bit more, and I got to work on that, and hopefully it's good from there.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. And a lot of guys, the natural instinct is to go head first. Is that something that you think you could do less of, or in the moment that's probably where you're going to go?
I think on the stolen bases might be harder. That's one that I don't really do feet first. I feel if I go feet first, I might be out. The one at home, I think that's actually pretty dumb for me to do, go head first at home. I mean, it's just your instincts, I'm trying to score. If I want to just run into an out, I just stand up and let him touch me. I'm trying to score. Maybe he catches it. I'm trying to, sneak my hand in. But yeah, I think at home we won't see that no more.
So that was Xander Bogaerts. Sounds like he will no longer be going headfirst into home plate, and certainly hope that shoulder is feeling good for Xander back in the lineup today for the Padres, with first pitch coming up at 4:20 in Cincinnati, game 1 of this 3-game series and a 6-game road trip that will take the Padres to Cincinnati and Philadelphia before an off day next Thursday, and then a 10-game homestand beginning on Friday, July 4th, and that will take us up until the All-Star break. So we are coming down the home stretch of the first half of the season. Today, mathematically, is the end of the first half with game number 81 of 162 in Cincinnati for the Padres here today. First pitch at 4:20. We go out to Jesse and Tony at 4:10. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number 1, contain the electric Ellie. Ellie De La Cruz has 10 hits in his last 22 at-bats, 5 extra base hits, and 6 runs scored in that span. De La Cruz is batting .277 with an .862 OPS this season, 18 home runs, 55 RBIs, 21 stolen bases. Remember, he stole 67 bases a year ago, so when Ellie De La Cruz gets on base, you got to keep a very, very close eye on him. If you look back at his last 33 games, go back to mid-May, he's hitting .323 with a .400 on base percentage, 10 home runs in that span. Any way you slice it, he is one of the more dynamic electric players we have in the game right now. He is very dangerous at the plate. De La Cruz is playing shortstop and batting third for the Reds here tonight. Key number 2, get the lefty hitters back on track. Gavin Sheets went 0 for 4 on Wednesday. That ended a 15-game on-base streak, the longest of his career. Jackson Merrill also took an 0 for on Wednesday. That ended an 8-game hitting streak. Question is, can those guys get back on track and contribute today against the right-handed starter in Nick Martinez? That's key number 2. Key number 3, Don't allow some of the struggling hitters in this Reds lineup to get going. I'm talking about a couple of guys in particular. Will Benson, who's in right field batting 8th for the Reds today. He has not had a hit in his last 5 games. He's 0 for 13 in that span. Matt McLain, who's a good young player, 9 home runs, 27 RBIs on the season, although he's batting just 200. In his last 3 games, he's also 0 for 14, and McLain bats second in this lineup. So don't allow McLain or Benson, they come into this series really struggling. Don't let them get going here tonight and in this series. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. A lot going on around the major leagues on this Friday. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
Well, we normally would have 3 games getting ready to begin here shortly. However, we have 3 games that are delayed before first pitch. One of them is the one in Cincinnati, although we do know we have a 4:20 p.m. Pacific time start time in that one. The Mets and the Pirates are in a rain delay before first pitch in Pittsburgh. Twins and the Tigers in Detroit also delayed before first pitch. Everything else is scheduled to come up in the next 20-30 minutes or later on this evening. A's and the Yankees in New York and the Bronx today at 4:05. Rays and the Orioles at 4:05 in Baltimore. Cardinals and the Guardians in Cleveland at 4:10. Blue Jays and the Red Sox at 4:10 at Fenway. Phillies and the Braves in Atlanta at 4:15. Giants and the White Sox at 4:40 in Chicago. Mariners and the Rangers in Arlington at 5:05. Cubs and the Astros in Houston at 5:10. Rockies and the Brewers in Milwaukee at 5:10. Dodgers and the Royals in Kansas City at 5:10. Nationals and the Angels at 6:38 in Anaheim, and the Marlins and the Diamondbacks in Arizona at 6:40. And that is a quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have much more on all those games coming up later on in our post-game coverage after this series opener in Cincinnati. When we come back, I go one-on-one with today's starting pitcher, Dylan Cease. Again, a short rain delay in Cincinnati today. First pitch coming up at 4:20. We'll go out to the booth in Cincinnati at 4:10 with Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. But when we come back, we hear from today's starting pitcher. We dive into Xander Bogaerts a little bit more, what he continues to do as of late. Luis Arraez, what he has done in his career in Cincinnati, plus a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between a current Padre, Dylan Cease, and a former Padre, Nick Martinez. Much more to do on our pregame coverage. We continue after this on the Padres Radio Network. Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. First pitch coming your way at 4:20 in Cincinnati. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. at 4:10 as the Padres begin this 3-game series and a 6-game road trip to Cincinnati in Philadelphia. I'll go one-on-one with today's starting pitcher, Dylan Cease. In just a moment, he goes up against right-hander Nick Martinez on the mound today for the Cincinnati Reds. Well, Xander Bogaerts back in the lineup today for the Padres, batting 6th and playing shortstop, and Xander has played well as of late, batting .353 with 5 extra base hits in his last 9 games. So good to see the X-Man back in the lineup today. We'll see how he's feeling after getting an off day on Wednesday, dealing with that left shoulder soreness, and scheduled off day for the Padres. Yesterday, Padres, of course, ended that stretch of 26 games in 27 days with Wednesday's game. Padres went 13-13 in that span, so I guess you could say they tread water during that really, really tough stretch of the schedule. And now some more off days built in here, one next week, then a 10-game homestand, and then we hit the All-Star break. As far as, or I should say, speaking of the All-Star break, Major League Baseball announced the results of the first round of fan voting for the 2025 All-Star game yesterday. Manny Machado was named one of 2 finalists for the starting National League third base position. Manny is vying for his 7th overall All-Star nod and his 4th fan-elected start in his career. With a fan election, he would be the first San Diego third baseman to win multiple fan-elected starts. Of course, Manny started at third base for the National League in 2022. Phase 2 of voting begins on Monday. So, again, phase 2 of voting begins on Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific. It runs through Wednesday, July 2nd at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Fans can vote once per day at MLB.com/vote. Again, that's MLB.com/vote. So, Padres fans, do your part. Get Manny into that All-Star game as the starting third baseman. And hopefully Manny will be starting at third base for the National League in the All-Star game in Atlanta with 2,000 career hits under his belt. Manny enters today with 1,991 career hits. So 9 away from reaching that 2,000 mark. Could certainly happen on this road trip, or I would say would happen pretty early on the homestand starting next weekend. Well, Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres here today. We'll talk more about what Dylan Cease has done as of late coming up in just a little bit, but I caught up with the Padres right-hander inside the clubhouse. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game, and right now we're joined by starting pitcher Dylan Cease. Dylan, coming off an off day in Cincinnati, what does an off day for Dylan Cease typically entail during the baseball season?
On the road, yeah. I mean, it really depends where we're at. You know, I mean, I'm going to be doing some, if I'm in New York, I'm going to be doing something different than if I'm, you know, in Cincinnati. But probably just go throw a little bit, especially some starting, you know, so go throw. And then other than that, I mean, whatever I want, whatever I'm feeling in that moment, it'll probably be a last-minute decision.
Let's talk about the baseball part of it when you're coming from an off day into a start. What does that look like? You said you throw. What does it look like physically for you?
Yeah, I just try to move around a little bit, throw, and then other than that, I'm, you know, off day. You know,
off day wise, I mean, what are the kind of things generally, I guess, regardless of city, that you like to get up to?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it'll be, you know, go to museums or something, see what's in the city. Could be walking around, could be on eBay all day messing around or whatever. You know, it really is just kind of depending on what mood I'm in.
eBay. Well, what are you looking for on eBay?
Oh, I like lowballing, you know, going on, seeing cards or sports cards or whatever, trying to lowball some people.
Let's talk about what you've been doing. You had a nice start against the Royals last time out. What did you feel like worked well in that start?
I think I relied on the fastball heavily. I think the fastball was good, and I want to continue that trend where, you know, I want to command my fastball and have that set up everything else.
Why is the fastball, just to dive a little bit deeper into it, the fastball in particular, such an important pitch to you?
I mean, it really kind of sets everything else up. You know, I mean, if you don't get the fastball in the zone, you're not going to get chased in the off speed, and then ultimately you'll be pitching behind in the count all the time, which isn't good. So it's just important.
We're talking with Dylan Cease before his start in Cincinnati. Back in spring training, we talked to you so much about all these
new pitches you were working on, how you might go about things a little bit differently. What does the evolution of all that look like for you so far this season?
Yeah, I've more just gone back to the basics, to be honest. I mean, I've got the one I really could use more is probably the sweeper, but I just haven't necessarily used that very often. They're all there. It's just I'm more focused on the basics, more focused on just commanding the fastball right now.
You said a handful of starts ago that you felt like you were pretty close to really getting rolling, and you have had a number of really nice outings the past few. Do you still kind of feel like that way, like you're moving towards one of those kind of vintage Dylan Cease type runs?
Yeah, I think so. It's always obviously hard to predict, but I like where I'm at. It's first handful of starts this year I wasn't very happy with, but I like how it's coming out now. And yeah, just got to keep rolling.
Dylan, best of luck to you in your start against the Reds in Cincinnati. We'll catch up with you again down the road. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was Dylan Cease inside the Padres clubhouse. He goes up against former Padre Nick Martinez in the first game of this 3-game series in Cincinnati. Let's quickly pause for station identification on the Padres radio network.
KWFN-FM and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
Hey, this is Mike Shildt. You're listening to Padres Baseball on Padres Radio Network.
An Odyssey Sports Station.
Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game on the Padres Radio Network. First pitch delayed by just a little bit, 10 minutes to 4:20 p.m. A little bit of rain in Cincinnati. Tarp was on the field, but we are slated for a 4:20 first pitch. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in just about 12 minutes at 4:10. This is a big series for both these teams. Padres enter the day sitting in the third and final wild card spot in the National League. The Reds in particular, 2.5 games behind the Padres for that final wild card spot. So there's a real opportunity for the Reds to pick up some ground on the Padres this weekend in Cincinnati. It's a wild card race right now. 7 teams are within 5.5 games of one another in a race for 3 wild card spots. So as we hit the midway point, Padres playing game number 81 of 162 here today. Padres in a good spot, sitting in a playoff spot. However, a lot of teams are going to be battling for those 3 wild card spots in the second half of the season. Let's tell you what to watch for in tonight's series opener.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For, presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in Cincinnati? A hot Luis Arraez against the team that he likes hitting against. Luis Arraez has hit safely in 12 straight games. He's batting .358 in that span. Arraez has been particularly good against the Reds in his career. Arraez has hit .458 with 10 extra base hits and a .661 slugging percentage in 15 career games against the Cincinnati Reds. So we'll see if Luis Arraez can keep that going here tonight. What to watch for in today's game? A hot Luis Arraez in Cincinnati. Great day on Wednesday, his first game in the leadoff spot this season. 3 hits. He made his manager, Mike Shildt, look like a genius for putting him into that leadoff spot. And wouldn't you know it, Luis is back in that number 1 spot in the lineup here today and playing first base. When we come back, we take a much deeper dive into today's starting pitching matchup between Nick Martinez and Dylan Cease as we continue to walk you up towards first pitch coming up at 4:20 at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues after these words on the Padres Radio Network.
Hello, this is Craig Gio from Anthony's Fish Grotto. While our favorite ball club chases the pennant, Anthony's won the pennant from the Union Tribune Readers Poll as
Symbiotica.com and use code Padres for 15% off plus shipping site-wide. That's Symbiotica.com, code Padres for 15% off.
Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in just about 8 minutes here on the Padres Radio Network. They are standing by, ready to go in Cincinnati, Ohio, as the Padres begin this 3-game series against the Reds and begin this 6-game road trip to Cincinnati and Philadelphia. One thing to keep an eye on in today's game, can the Padres bullpen continue to do some great work? Again, the Padres will be without Robert Suarez today. Robert serving the second game of what became a 2-game suspension for hitting Shohei Ohtani last week in Los Angeles. So Robert did get the suspension reduced, but he did start serving that 2-game suspension on Wednesday against the Nationals, and he serves it today as well against the Reds. So the Padres will be a man short in the bullpen. But to tell you just about something really impressive from that series against the Nationals, how about what the Padres bullpen did? They were absolutely terrific on Tuesday after Ryan Bogaerts had to come out of the game after getting hit with a line drive in the forearm. Just terrific work. 6 innings, no earned runs given up for the bullpen, helped the Padres to a 1-run win. And then in yesterday's, or I should say on Wednesday's game, Padres had a 1-0 lead. No Robert Suarez available. Jeremiah Estrada comes in, pitches a scoreless 8th inning. Adrian Morejon, who has been so good this season, comes in after pitching 2 innings on Tuesday, 2 scoreless innings, and comes in on Wednesday, the day after, picks up his 2nd save of the season. By the way, for Morejon, how good has he been as of late? Well, Adrian, if you go back to his last 16 appearances, he's allowed just 3 hits, 15 2/3 innings, no earned runs given up. And I talked about it post-game on Wednesday. You have to be so impressed with what Adrian Morejon continues to do out of the bullpen. This high-octane, reliable, left-handed reliever out of the pen. He has turned himself into a key part of this Padres pen. He has been terrific, and you would assume in a close game with Robert Suarez unavailable, pretty good chance we see Adrian Morejon in this series opener in Cincinnati. Our starting pitching matchup today, Nick Martinez on the mound for the Reds, Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. Let's dive in.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
On the mound for the Reds, Nick Martinez, now 34 years old. Of course, he spent all of 2022 and 2023 with the Padres, now in the midst of his 2nd season in Cincinnati. He's 4-8, 15 starts and 2 appearances out of the bullpen so far this year, 86 combined innings, and he's allowed 86 hits. He's had an interesting month of June. He posted an 8.35 ERA in 4 starts to begin the month, including allowing 7 runs in just 2 2/3 innings against the Twins last Thursday. Then Martinez requested a couple of relief outings out of the bullpen to just get his stuff back in sync, and he retired all 9 batters he faced in those 2 relief appearances. Martinez faced the Padres twice last season. Both outings weren't great. He allowed 10 runs in 9 2/3 total innings. Luis Arraez, we talked about how good he is against the Cincinnati Reds. Well, Luis hit a home run against him in Martinez's start against the Padres in Cincinnati last season. So we'll see how the Padres do against former Padre Nick Martinez here tonight. Meanwhile, on the mound for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. The 29-year-old is 3-6, a 4.43 ERA in 16 starts so far this season, 87 innings and a third. He's allowed 80 hits. He struck out 109 and walked 33. If you really dig into it, 15 of the 45 runs Cease has allowed this season have come in really 2 bad outings. He actually has a 3.22 ERA in the other 14 starts combined. And a lot of his peripheral strikeout rate, walk rate, hard hit rate, whiff percentage, expected ERA, they're all in the same neighborhood of where he was last year when he had a 3.47 ERA for the season. So there's reason to believe that Dylan Cease, the best is yet to come for him so far this season. You look at his last 3 starts, it's been good and some bad. Against the Dodgers at home, 7 scoreless innings. He struck out 11. Against the Dodgers on the road, 5 innings, 6 runs, 8 hits given up. Then he faced the Royals on Saturday in San Diego, gave up just 1 run on 3 hits in 6 2/3 innings. Cease did not face the Reds last season, and he's made 2 career starts against the Reds. Both came in Cincinnati when Cease was a member of the Chicago White Sox. He was absolutely outstanding in his last start there in 2021. 6 scored, hit, and 11 strikeouts. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup. Dylan Cease for San Diego and Nick Martinez on the mound for Cincinnati. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Well, the Reds, a team playing well right now. They just won 2 of 3 from the Yankees this week. They are 12-6 in their last 18 games. Padres also playing well. They've won 2 straight series against the Royals and the Nationals. Couple of teams battling for positioning in the wild card race in the National League. A big series in Cincinnati, and it begins tonight. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.